Welcome to the real life show, Living with a Chronic Illness. We are your hosts, Cassie and Chelsea. I'm Cassie, a single mom living with a chronic illness who is extremely passionate about living a full and happy life.
And I'm Chelsea, a mindset coach that has a passion for helping people learn to put themselves first and be the best version of themselves each and every day.
We came together to create Spoonies Unite, an uplifting community that offers resources, guidance, and support so you can live your best life while giving you the space to be yourself, be heard, and feel understood. We hope that by providing education from experts, we help Spoonies and their loved ones thrive.
This show is not only for those who live with a chronic illness, but their friends, family, spouses, and just anyone else existing on the earth. Our goal is to normalizing having a chronic illness by sharing the real stories with real people and show the world how relatable those everyday struggles can be. There's a little something in here for everyone.
And of course, thank you to our patrons for your continued support making this possible. If you love our show and want to get some extra goodies, go to patreon.com/therealspooniesunite. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the real life show, Living with a Chronic Illness. We are continuing our conversation with Olivia Kite today. Olivia, thank you so much for spending more of your time talking to us. We are so excited to talk to you again.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and I'm honored to be on your guys' show. And again.
Woo!
Yeah, again and again. Oh my gosh. No, I'm glad I didn't bore you the first time. So, yeah, there's a lot.
Well,
okay, good.
Before we dive in, I just want to say thank you, Olivia, because as we were talking about before I pressed the record button, we should have been recording what we were talking about before, but you mentioned about how people don't always talk about what it felt like to go through a stroke or a TIA or what that experience is like. And thank you for being willing and vulnerable to share that experience so that other people can have maybe a better idea of what happened to them if that were to happen, or maybe be like, oh man, that was really similar to this other experience I have. And I hope people just are kind of like, yeah, I'm a little less alone out there. So thank you so much for sharing your story. So in part one of this, we talked a lot about what your background was, your health history, what you've been through in your life.
Yeah.
So now we wanted to kind of focus on more what happened after your second stroke, what happened, what's going on in your life now, and all of that fun stuff. So you want to take it away, Olivia?
Yeah, no, I'd love to share. I mean, just to touch on what you said, like what I said a minute ago before recording is like and even with what I'm going to say today, it's like I want to hopefully be that person for somebody else and, be more visible, and because I am the only one that I know of with what I have. So, I want to be that person for someone else when they're like, oh, I'm the only one over here. At least I think I'm the only one over here. So I want to be able to relate to other people, even if we don't have the exact same things you said, So yeah, whatever I can do to like spread the word, as rare and as weird and as unique as it is. And even if one person on the whole planet can relate and no one else, like that's enough. 'Cause I'm not one person too. Like I'm standing over here and I'm like, well, I want someone to relate to, whether they have my thing or not, or like stroke is more common, obviously. So like hearing that from someone else would be like really beneficial if I had that even before, But yeah. So I guess, I was trying to like gather my thoughts before all this. I've got pages and pages, but like 5 years trying to condense it, obviously. But no, I think it all relates now that I've written it all out. And I really wanted to go through like a list of all the symptoms that maybe I haven't, or disorders that maybe I haven't mentioned in the last podcast as a kid, and relates to now as well. Is I was growth hormone deficient as a kid. So as an infant, and then as I grew, I still was deficient. So I had growth hormone shots from the time, like before I could even remember. For memories, I had shots every day for that, and then stopped that around puberty, because once you hit puberty, you just stop growing, obviously. So that was at 14 for me. So yeah, that happened every day. But where it relates now is obviously because I was deficient, I only grew to like 4'11", 4'10" or 11. So that, you know, affects me every day, my height and things like that. So, I mean, for example, like my parents, they're quite tall. My brother's 6'5". So I should have probably been a lot taller, but just because of whatever I have genetically, and then the added bonus of being growth hormone deficient from such a young age, I wasn't able to like reach my full height, whatever the heck that might be. I mean, for a lot of reasons, I wish I was taller, like for many, many reasons, but especially now, it's like, wish I was taller because that contracture makes me, in my hips and things, just make me shorter and shorter, you know? So it's like, I don't need that on top of everything, but it is what it is. I'm just trying to think what else I might have missed. Being like hypoglycemic as a kid, so always having to eat like little meals all the time, that kind of just became my habit. Was even able to eat in class, so kids got jealous that I was able to eat like during lessons and things, or go out, miss class because I got to eat. And basically I was always like on high muscle tone, you know, not being able to be loose and limber, always being quite stiff, everything always kind of being on, I should say, I'm repeating myself, but you know, if that kind of makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But like,
yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me, because if I mean, when anyone's hormones get off, whether it's because it's growth hormone or it's something else, I mean, that throws like every other system off in your body. So yeah, and then if your muscles are always having that tone, like that takes a lot of energy too.
Yeah, like your heart having to, you know, work harder all the time to just like function or just to do normal things. I mean, I didn't notice it as a kid, because that was my normal. So I would always eat. I would always like, you know, need energy and stuff, because I had low energy from always doing stuff, even though it wasn't a lot. Like I didn't play sports. I wasn't very active, but I was active. Like I was always doing stuff. So I'm like always being tiny and things like that. And then last but not least is like sleep apnea, something I don't know if I mentioned last time, is like had that since I was, before I can even remember, breathing troubles as an infant, being in the NICU and things like that. And then just having sleep apnea, again, part of my disorder, unknown. All of the reasoning is unknown, but that's an added, bonus or symptom or whatever. And that's carried out throughout my life. So I sleep with a BiPAP machine, which is just like a positive airway pressure, I think it's called, which basically sleep apnea, from my understanding of the definition, is like you stop breathing at night. So you need that positive airway pressure to push past your airway and make you breathe again, basically.
That's a good way to describe it.
And a lot of people know CPAP, which is continuous, and then I, for some reason, have a BiPAP, and I'm trying to think why. I've just always had a BiPAP rather than a CPAP. I don't have continuous. I have different pressures. So I have like a pressure, bi meaning two, I think. Yeah, bi meaning two, so two different pressures. Like a harder pressure for when I stop breathing, and I'm able to breathe out with a lesser pressure. Not that that even matters to the discussion, but just giving some like medical background if anyone cares.
No, we do like to explain what stuff is, because some people might be listening and never having heard of that stuff. So it's important. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no, I love to. I mean, it's always been weird because I'm, like sleepovers have always been weird, and just growing up it's always been semi-different. It's not as easy to just crash at someone's house, or always having to be aware that I've got to take that thing. And back then they were so bulky, and it even not messed up, I should say, but formed like the way my face got like formed or whatever. Like I've got an indent on my nose for anybody watching the video, if this ever like comes out in video form, like, you know, because it went over my whole nose. Like it was a big bulky thing. There was like straps everywhere and stuff, and I'm fortunate now that technology is improved and now they're only little like nasal cannula type things. I mean, they're bigger than what you think of an oxygen cannula. They're a bit different, a bit bigger, I should say, but other than that, I mean, they're a lot smaller, and the machine is a lot smaller and a lot quieter too. So, you know, you don't want to go to your little friend's house at like 10 or even younger, or even like preteen, and your hormones are crazy and like your embarrassment is off the charts, that anything you do, you know, as you're growing and forming and maturing and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to bring this noisy ass machine and like be forced to talk about medical stuff. Like I want to, but
yeah,
like I want to have fun, but also I want to break. So let's not.
Yeah. So did you go to a lot of sleepovers growing up, or was that something you kind of avoided?
Not really. I would have people over. I would have my trusted friends over, and they were usually pretty fine with that, because they knew that me going anywhere was like tricky. Bringing, I would have to pack up not just clothes, but a machine, a medical device as well. And then, you know, I even forget it now because it's been over 10 years, but having those shots and stuff, I would have to bring that as well. Yeah. So, and also like the occasional testing of my blood sugar and things like that. So having to explain that, or have a parent, you know, take that on. It's like, you know, someone else's parent, I should say, like that's, I didn't want to have people deal with that. So I'd rather them come to my house and entertain and things like that, rather than having to tackle that. So maybe I did avoid it. I don't know. I mean, reflecting as I do now, but I think it made me choose my friends wisely and have a lot smaller group of friends, which I'm totally aware of now. But now that I think about it in this context, it's probably another reason why I did so. I only trusted certain people to come over to my house and things like that, excuse me. So yeah, it's probably another reason why I stick to like a few core people, you know, and not having hordes of random acquaintances, because it's not as fun and you don't get that connection.
Yeah.
You know?
I like having a small group of friends personally. Like there's a small select group that I know I like share my deepest dreams and fears and things with. But then outside of that, it's just people that you can talk to and hang out with, but maybe there's not that deep connection.
Yeah, I was totally just getting ready to say the same thing. Like I have my little group that I only share certain things with, but then I was like, but I also share everything with the world on this friggin' podcast. So maybe I only like go to my small group for, you know, that connection and like feedback and advice and stuff. But basically I don't really have many secrets now. The world knows everything.
Oh, but like now it's a lot different. If things were, now that we're older and more mature and things like that evolved a little more and things have changed, perhaps friendship groups would be different. I don't know. I mean, I've not had many typical office setting jobs. So perhaps it would be different. Perhaps I would have more acquaintance type friends now that I'm older, you know, equating it to middle school, high school, that kind of thing. But I've not been in that situation just yet. Only like a job where it's like a big office or whatever, and having peers and things like that. So yeah, I mean, even in college, I just created like deep, intimate relationships with like literally one or two people. Like I don't have hordes of like sorority friends, not that I went to a sorority, but you know, that analogy, like I don't have those bunch of friends that I had in all my classes and stuff. I just connected with like one or two people. Oh, bless you. But I think I've always been like that. So stemming from what we were talking about, I think it stems from making those connections in elementary, middle school, and high school and stuff. I just prefer it, I guess. It's become my.
Well, and then speaking briefly about being in an office at work, can we talk a little bit about like your work situations and what that's been like? Like you said, you know, obviously that you went to college, and then what has work life been like for you over time?
Hey everyone, I know you're enjoying this episode of the real life show Living with a Chronic Illness, but we're going to pause for a moment because I want to tell you about our most recent offering to help you live your best life. It is mywellnesshub.co. At mywellnesshub.co, you will find a comprehensive resource library for chronic illness individuals to live their best life. You know, all those hours you spent searching on Google to find that thing that's going to help your pain, or that thing that's going to help you feel better, or what type of diet to work, what books to read, what podcasts to listen to, you know, all the stuff. Well, we're putting all of that into one single resource library to make it easy for you to find the resources you need. And as part of that, we have our membership site, The Hub, where we're providing education for you at the low cost of $15 a month. You're going to get classes from experts around the freaking world, multiple times a month, multiple times a week. You'll have access to the recordings from the past, all sorts of really, really good stuff. So make sure you go check out mywellnesshub.co.
Yeah, so I've been in a fortunate situation where all throughout college, I just got to focus on college because we were just financially stable enough to do so. So I'm really thankful that I was just able to focus on school and get through it quite quickly. And obviously had that year after the stroke and TIA and surgery where I did take it off. I did do a class in the middle of 2016 and got my associate. So I didn't take it completely off, but that's okay. I did a lot of healing in that year as well. So where I was going with that is, I don't have a lot of work experience, but a lot of education under my belt, and was able to devote my time at school to volunteering as well. So built my resume in that sense. One, because they were part of school, part of my classes that I had to do, but also just having a passion for children and the medical world. I volunteered at Sutter Children's in Sacramento for about a year and a half. So
that's awesome.
doing like more nonprofit work and working with children with disabilities and things. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, I would have loved to like do that professionally, and I still want to, but they were all volunteerships at that time. And then I graduated, as you said, and in 2018, in the fall of 2018, and obviously like was on the job hunt even before I graduated. It was really quite tricky, just because a lot of the jobs were very hands-on, and a lot of people that I know of back at school were willing to do the like teacher assistant jobs and the jobs that didn't pay a lot and were a lot more physically demanding. And I wasn't worried about the pay necessarily. I was worried about the physical demand of a lot of these jobs, because if I haven't mentioned before, I don't know, is my major was in my degree, I should say, was in child development. So a lot of people that I knew of that got that degree, that got their degree in child development, went into teaching. And a lot of people ask me that too. And like, do you want to teach? I'm like, no, that's what everybody thinks. Great profession, just not my cup of tea. Because I got it in social and community settings, so I was able to apply it to a lot of places like hospital settings, or just the world at large, in society, or even in government or things like that, government settings as well. So I could technically, apply that to a lot of settings, but basically where I ended up a couple of months after school was this company called Pride Industries, and in Sacramento at least, they are a company or a nonprofit, I should say, that help people with disabilities achieve independence. So they do help them find employment, but also like housing and benefits and insurance and care and
cool.
all the good things to make somebody who has limitations in any sense achieve independence. So I got acquainted with them as a recipient to find a job. Just a job and possibly benefits if that was an option to the government and things. I wasn't in dire need, which I was really still thankful for. But just basically, getting some assistance in that world, not being a typically abled person looking for a job. So I didn't know if I had to approach it differently or if there were jobs that I didn't even know about. So they helped me a lot there, and I ended up getting a job with them. So that was really nice. Yeah, that was really cool. It was an internship, but like a paid internship. So that was really nice. Yeah, it was really good. Good thing to have on my resume, definitely. But made a lot of friends along the way, and learned a lot about the company and what they do for people like me, people that are differently able to, to all degrees and frequencies and stuff. So I was really thankful to have that. And then that internship ended around like May or June of last year. And they still helped me as a recipient of them to try and find a job outside of them. I was having a muscle biopsy that month, or that summer, I should say. So it was kind of the right timing. They might have kept me on, but that was a good stopping point. And then I applied for jobs separate. So like, hey, when this is done, I'm still looking for a job, like possibly. But that didn't work out, but that's okay. They helped me in other aspects. And I did end up getting a job with their help with the government, or like a government entity, like adjacent, a nonprofit for behavioral health through the state. So that was really cool. Just being an assistant to, the California Association of Behavioral Health Boards. So they're like behavioral health boards all throughout the state, in every county, and they decide and also keep track of like the mental health, behavioral health services that each county supplies to people. So there are like boards and stuff. And then this woman that I worked for was the head of that. So yeah, I assisted her.
Very cool.
Which was cool. Yeah, which was in line with kind of what I wanted to do. Either physical disabilities, mental health disorders. It was all kind of aligned.
And so did you work kind of like part-time or full-time?
These were both part-time.
Yeah.
Just to kind of test the waters, because I was still living at my sister's, so I was able to have that assistance there. So that was really nice. I wasn't like in a rush to get something that I couldn't handle, which was really felt really fortunate, and still do. So they were part-time, which was great for what I could handle at the moment. And then the second job was remote, even being in Sacramento. Hardly ever had to go in. It was literally just a 2-person operation, just me and her. So we were kind of making it up as we went along. That, I mean, I hate talking about this, but like it literally ended, unfortunately. The job from my point of view was eliminated. So there was just no need for an assistant. She didn't need one anymore. So that unfortunately ended just before the pandemic. It might have worked even now because it was remote. And I moved back here for medical reasons, and we can chat about that. But that unfortunately ended. So I don't know.
You'd mentioned that you're looking for something remote now.
Yeah, that would have been a good job, like I said, but just circumstances and stuff. So definitely looking for something remote, and knowing that I could do part-time like I did remote. I do feel like even like months after that, and with the time that we have now, I definitely think I could do something part-time or full-time remote, but just gotta find it, right? So I know that a lot of people or a lot of places and organizations are, going remote, but I'm still not finding that people are going fully remote. It all looks advertised as remote for now, remote until we open again, which doesn't really work for me, because it's like I'm gonna have to probably stay safe for a little bit longer than the average person. So if the world opens up, I'll probably still stay home for a bit longer. So I don't want to be forced to like quit it and be like, well, I can't come in or whatever.
Yeah.
So fully remote.
One thing I've really hoped that this pandemic will do is show a lot of companies that remote work is a lot more possible than I think some people have thought it is. Because a lot of companies were forced to start working remotely, and because they just literally didn't have a choice. And so I'm hoping that one of the results of this will be that more places are like, yep, you can do remote. We did it for so many months, so much of a year. We can continue doing this in some capacity and open up more job opportunities for people like you, Olivia, or just people in general. Because I work at home half the time and I love it. I don't want to go there. If I can stay in my office, I would rather do that.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I put a lot more work into, or a lot of my efforts into the second job. And it's honestly, it was the second job I probably ever had. So it's not saying much, but no, I definitely felt more productive in that job because I was focused solely on the job and didn't have any other distractions. Obviously had medical things going on, but that was not uncommon. So I was able to handle that, and it was very fluctuating time as well. My medical team was trying a new drug, and I moved home. And although that drug is still going on now, I've acclimated a lot more to it and got more of a rhythm. And it was possibly that drug or that kind of fluctuation in inconsistency might have had something to do with not having the job. Like maybe she needed someone that was more around, even though I personally thought I was, and putting my whole heart in it. But that's beside the point. I think now is like fresh and new, and also the world knows how to do remote a lot more. I think maybe her as an example just didn't know how to do that,
I think there's something to be said, like you were saying, with remote work also, is because I have done some remote work off and on for 4 years or something. And for one of the jobs that I did, I really had to be available like a lot. Even though I was at home, I had to be like mentally available a lot.
Yeah.
And then there was all these like short deadlines. Like it would kind of be like, I need this done within 3 days, or I need this done in 2 days, or I need this done right now, or like a week. And with juggling a chronic illness, it was kind of hard because it was like, well, I don't know how I'm going to be the next 2 days. It was hard to reach those deadlines. Then I did another job that it was much more like she would send me a flood of like, no joke, like 50 to 70 emails. But then she's like, basically I just need it done within the next like 3 weeks or month. And it was like, okay. So then with that amount of time, then it was like, cool. Today I feel good and I would get through 40 of the emails. Tomorrow I'd be like, okay, I did 2 or none. And it was nice to have some of that flexibility. And like with Chelsea and I and how we work together, there's some weeks that I am super on it and get like everything under the sun done. And then there's weeks that I'm like, and then there's some weeks that I'm like, I haven't done a single thing for like 9 days, you know? And
it's
all
nice. Okay.
And it's okay, because when we do have a deadline for something, like, we always get it done. We often are ahead of our deadlines, but I believe greatly that a huge part of that is because of the flexibility of like, I don't know, kind of having like, we know, oh, this is like a month deadline, or this is 3 weeks deadline. And then I can like do whatever I need to do. If I do nothing at all for 2 weeks, then I know, okay, I got to like grind a little bit that last week. But I've really found that, with remote work, it's really great for our community. I do think that the world is hopefully going to bring more opportunity for those of us who need to do remote work. And I think as much as we can find where you get to manage your own schedule, that's also going to be really beneficial. And I want to just mention on here too, so that I don't forget, I'm not sure when our episode's going to air, if it's going to be before or after. We had an interview with Kathy Regan-Young, who has the FUMS podcast, and she has a website called FUMSnow.com. And she is a huge advocate for work from home opportunities, and she works with flex jobs, flexjobs.com, and she has a promo code. I think it's FUMS, and you get like 30% off. But I just wanted to throw that out there because the flexjobs.com, I have been seeing that they like seem to be really great for the chronic illness community, and have been working with them for a long time, which sounds similar to the Pride, which I've written down and I want to check out too. So I thought I would just throw that out there.
Yeah, that all sounds amazing. You have to look that up. I've heard it in passing, you know, is on the list of job boards and stuff that I've tried, like Indeed and Monster, like that, but haven't actually checked it out.
She is all about it. Yeah, she has told us some amazing stuff about it, and she's actually starting this like whole website and community of, which is called Patients Getting Paid, and she wants it all to be about like chronic illness or disabled people and how they are making money, and she wants to like kind of expose how much they're making, how much they're working to make what they're making, and like really put it out there
and teach other people how to do it too. So yeah, that's why I really wanted to like mention that. And I meant to actually like send all of that to a message with you, but this week was cray. So
I get it.
Yeah. So I'm saying it now, and then all of our listeners can hear that wonderful info and either go listen to the Kathy Regan-Young podcast or listen to it when it comes out. So Olivia, tell us, I'd love to hear, so we know now that, you know, you're kind of like looking for work opportunities now, and we have heard so much about like your incredibly amazing story. And so what would, Chelsea, I feel like asks this question really well, like, what do you want the listeners to take away, or what would you love to tell them, right? What do you always say, Chelsea? You always ask that question, really.
Yeah, I guess is if someone is listening to this, and not if, because people are listening to this.
when
people are listening to this, what if there's one takeaway that you really want people to walk away from listening to this podcast, what would it be?
Never like give up on finding that, or finding like true like peace without symptoms, or finding that perfect doctor, because they're out there. As much as you get the assholes, you know, or you get the people that don't listen, there's going to be someone that listens, or the right friend, you know, like even if it takes another 5 or 10 years, they're out there, they want to listen, or the right partner, whoever it is. If you don't have your own family, your family's out there somewhere.
I love that.
I love it so much.
Oh my gosh, that's so perfect.
It's so perfect. It's like what we want for everybody,
you
know, from all of these interviews and episodes.
I just think if I were to give up at any point, I wouldn't be here. And I don't mean give up on like life. Like I would still pursue life, obviously, but it was more in the context of medical. Just like, just if I didn't push for a drug, whether I got turned down or not, I just wouldn't know if I would be turned down or not. If I didn't push for the right doctor, then I wouldn't know. I don't know. I wouldn't know what was out there. And if my doctors didn't push for me, if the researchers didn't push to find a genetic mutation, then I would just be stuck. If my parents never advocated for me when I was little, we wouldn't be where we are now. And obviously there are complications throughout and shit happens. And as much as I'd love to change some things, I mean more in the moment, not what could have happened, but now. Like, don't stop trying to, like, because it can like, okay, I'm stealing like this from another community, but it gets better almost. Like, if something is not right in your gut, like in your core, in any aspect, but relating to medical, as this podcast is about, just like, don't give up. Because
I 100% agree with that, and I'm super glad that you are bringing that up, because advocating for yourself, like, it cannot be stressed enough, like, how important it is. I often have to like, I think it was with my sister-in-law. I was like yelling at her down the phone one day because she was like she was like, I don't know, they don't know what's going on with me, you know, this and that, with like something to do with her feet. And I was just like, this doctor is providing a service for you. You know, you are paying the doctor to help sort something out. It is the practice of medicine. They are sometimes going to have the answers. They are not always going to have the answers. But just like you pay your hairstylist to essentially do a service for you, or, you know, whatever, like, they are doing a service for you. You need to, like, speak up and get what you're paying for. And it took a long time for me to, like, change my perspective in a way to look at it that way. Because I've always been the one who's like, I don't want to inconvenience my doctors. I don't want to be a pain in the ass patient. I want to be super nice. I don't want to, like, you know, inconvenience them.
Nothing will forward. Nothing will progress.
If you don't speak up, totally. And so it's like, it's like, you know, I don't want to, you know, I want to make sure that I'm like, you know, that they like me. And I don't want to be like, I want to be there easy 15 minutes today, you know?
That causes you so much more pain, I would imagine.
Oh, totally. Because then it's like, you're not speaking your truth. You're not even giving really the true opportunity to be heard and potentially be understood. And so I had a huge shift at one point. I actually don't know. It was probably years and years ago, because I watched my mom as me being her caregiver, and her not always advocating for herself, but sometimes doing it anyways. At some point in my brain, I don't even remember the time it happened, that I was like, no, I'm paying this doctor. I called to get in seen. I need answers. I'm not an expert. They're supposed to be an expert, but I am the one living in my body. It was probably trying to get my Crohn's diagnosis, because it was like 2 years of being like, something's wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I really am super grateful that you are really kind of advocating for yourself, and that being one of the takeaways and messages, because you're totally right. Like, you know, tell them, no, I want to try this drug, or I want to see the specialist, something's going on. I mean, especially because, like, we've had some other interviews and read some books, Chelsea, haven't we? That is like, how in God's name did you, like, not, you know, speak up during this situation or that situation? You know, when
it is so hard in the moment, because you don't want to be that, like, inconvenience. You don't want to be that person that's like, quote unquote, wrong about your body, even though you're not wrong about your body.
I feel like it's more natural for some people than others. So like, you know, I mentioned my parents and things like that, or even before the incident, before the stroke, like, that just comes natural to me to always advocate for myself and find an answer. And obviously, I think because I am undiagnosed, like, we've always pushed hard for finding that diagnosis, whatever it takes, and just never giving up, and, you know, always staying on top of the doctors to keep us in the loop with the research and, you know, genetic sequencing and things like that. Like, let the experts do their thing, as you said, but being always looking forward and progressing and hoping that they're doing their part, because as you said, you're paying for it, or you're being part of their research team or whatever it is, and you want an answer, and it's your body, and if you give up at any point, then just nothing's going to happen, and what good does that do? So I think it's definitely a mentality that of course you can grow and evolve and stuff, but a lot of it has to do with just if it's in you, like, to never, like, I don't know, like, whether it's from a young age or you have to evolve it into your character now. It takes some work, but trust me, it pays off. It pays off, and I felt that it's quite natural for me, and I know it's not easy for a lot of people, as I'm hearing from you guys, but trust me, it's worth it. It's definitely worth it to be your own advocate, or find the people that are going to be your advocates too. Like, find the right friends and the right people that can be your chosen family and stuff, that are going to protect you and defend you. And I know that it's out there, and I found it, and a lot of people have found it, and it is possible.
I think that's a really good point, Olivia, because as you were saying, right before you said that, I had thought of or find someone that'll advocate for you. Because I know for me, I don't always like to be the person that's inconveniencing others, kind of like you were mentioning, Cassie. But I could see that, if I had a child that was going through something, well, that doctor better get out of my way of making sure my child is healthy and happy. And so if you're having a hard time doing that for yourself, I think it is a great idea to find someone that can help be that advocate for you, that can go to the doctor with you. And I think that for a lot of people, it is their parents, if that's kind of the situation that they have. Or it could be a partner, it could be a sibling, it could be a friend, it could just be anyone that's just going to sit there. Like Cassie took me along for one of her doctor's appointments, so I could just kind of see what it was like. And though Cassie doesn't really need another advocate, she's pretty good doing it herself.
I'm a Leo.
At least now you're pretty good at it. I could definitely see how it could be helpful to at least have someone sitting there next to you, or that they've got your back if you start being like, no, I need more than the answers you're giving me. So I think that's great advice, Olivia, to find someone
that will grow that instinct in yourself too. Like, maybe having the way you learn best is by teaching it, or being shown it, or whatever. So in a roundabout way, having someone else be there for you, you also can be like, hey, I want to show my friend that I can advocate for myself, and I know what the hell I'm talking about. And by doing so, I grow more confident and things like that. And the more we talk about it on platforms like this, that can hopefully help another person. And I kind of go back to what I was saying about not giving up and never stopping, and that applies to my journey so much so that if I never pushed for a drug or a different doctor, or just to evolve from the children's to the adult and grown and stuff, I would be stuck where I was so long ago, the beginning of my stroke journey, which was a lot less mobile than I am now, a lot less fit than I am now. I mean, I'm not there to completely recover it. I don't think I'll ever be that, but that's not the point. I'm on such wonderful medicines that I can actually see a tangible proof and evidence that it's working and helping. And if I had never pushed for that, and then going back, learning that from my parents, etc., I would just be stuck, and I would be so much sadder, I think. So I think myself and a lot of other people are proof that if you do it, if you grow that skill and really push for yourself and never give up finding whatever that is at the end of the rainbow, it really is quite bright, and it's really good. And it might not be perfect, but it's really awesome.
Yeah, and it's empowering. I have found it empowering, and I mean, that's beautiful, Olivia. That's kind of I feel like that's a perfect kind of way to round out your story, and this whole interview, part 1 and 2, because it's just, we're really grateful that you came on here, and we're so excited for you to continue sharing your story through various platforms, like you were saying, your YouTube and such that you're starting?
Yeah, definitely. No, I'm glad you brought that up. That's awesome. Good hosting abilities. Good at that. Because I would have completely forgot. But yeah, I'm slowly trying to grow the following. I think I hope more for an altruistic, reason than a lot of other people in terms of trying to gain following. It sounds very millennial, but I'm trying to do that for a reason. Why I'm trying to get my name out through your platform and others like it, and trying to grow my own is literally because, like, not to be obsessed, but a diagnosis is a big part of what I'm hoping to get out of, medical research and things like that, but also getting my name out there and my symptoms and my other disorders and things. It would be brilliant if I could find someone like me or semi like me, with similar symptoms and things like that and disorders. So definitely doing that as much as I can, getting my name out there and my journey through my YouTube channel. It's a mishmash of like vlogs and fun videos with friends and family and life in the beautiful Napa Valley. And that's where it started, because I was stuck at home for about a year after the stroke. So not stuck, I should say. I was fortunate enough to be here in the beautiful place that I am. It's not the worst place to be in, obviously. So recuperate and stuff. But that's where it all started. And then chronicling like school life and taking a break during school and stuff. But definitely having the time now. I've produced a lot more videos again of the more lighthearted stuff. And one of my little hobbies and passions is makeup and things like that. So it's not everybody's cup of tea, but that's kind of where I get grow my confidence in front of the camera and stuff on the more lighthearted side. But
Fun.
then I get to really build my camera personality or confidence in front of the camera with those kind of things. But then and then hone my editing skills in that aspect. But then I do like to do more serious videos. I shouldn't say serious like somber, but videos that I'm hoping to gain more traction and stuff are the medical ones. So chronicling IVIG, which is a drug that I started in October of last year. That's a monthly infusion. So there's a lot to document each month, which is nice. And then that kind of leads into the daily life of a chronic illness, kind of stemming from that IVIG infusion. And then I'll take people along to appointments and I'll talk about the appointment afterwards. And I do kind of have to do a recount of my life a little bit on there because not many people will know who I am. And it's mainly for the purpose of my friends and family, but it's public. So anybody that would like to watch it and kind of get to know me more. And they're usually labeled.
Tell our listeners where they can search to find you on YouTube.
Yeah, on YouTube, I literally think it's my name, Olivia Kite, K-I-T-E is the last name, like the flying kite. I should just be one of the first people that come up. I think it's just a picture of me in like a yellow dress.
And we will link that in our show notes for sure, so it's easy for people to find as well.
I would love to say that I've got a handle or like a proper YouTube URL, but you've got to have a certain amount of followers.
That's fine.
Or
you'll get them.
I'll get them. It'll come.
Get them.
But yeah, no, each video, like, I try to not bore people or go on, and I just like focus on an update or whatever's happening. And from that, I kind of explain an aspect of my disorder because it's really hard to say it all in one go. That's again another reason why we're doing part 2. I'm so thankful for again is I do those videos because in each one I'll say, oh, I'm doing IVIG or I'm starting it, and they'll be like, okay, that's great, teach me about that, but why are you doing it and why are you doing it for you? And so I've got a video back in October, November from that, and then I've got like a health update from this past July, like only a month ago, and that talks about pulmonary. So somebody could watch that and be like, okay, great, there's an update from July, but I talk about why my lungs are crap and like why I'm restricted, and they can get a bit of an overview of my overall disorder. And people can definitely ask me questions and stuff too, because there's probably things I've missed and stuff in this interview, but I do try and show that on the YouTube. And then same with Instagram, and maybe a bit more frequently there. I've got a fully like medical Instagram. I've got more of like a fun, like friendly, like lighthearted Instagram, which is public as well, just my name, Olivia ER, because my middle names are Emily Rose, so ER Kite. So that's my like personal one, and people can go follow there. But also the medical one is like where I post obviously all the medical updates more frequently, maybe a couple times a month, like updating on IVIG, on pulmonary appointments or cardio or whatever it is. Like, yeah, just more frequent updates there. And that's uniquely undiagnosed, all one word.
I love that handle.
We will also link all of those in the show notes as well. So it's easy for people to find you so they can learn more about you and follow your journey from here on out. Olivia, thank you so much. Thank you for spending so much of your time chatting with us, sharing your story, being vulnerable.
Love it.
And thank you for being such a positive light in the world too. You've been through a lot and you still are incredibly positive, and it's very, very inspiring. So thank you for being you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me and letting me share my journey or part of it and just getting it all out there. And I don't know if my way is the right way now that I think about it, but it's just,
it's your way. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
The way, and I'm proof that it works to some degree, and things aren't perfect, but they're like right for you. They're going to be right for you. And, you know, just like I said before, it's just don't give up on yourself. Like there's like, literally, I don't have a diagnosis yet, but I'm not going to stop. And I've got all this time. I've got all this free time. We all do now. So what better way to use that time to get my story out there? So
that's right. And affect the world.
I hope so.
Love it.
I hope so.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please write us a review to help us reach more people like you.
If you'd like to connect with Cassie and I, you can find us on Instagram at The Real Spoonies Unite. You can also join our private Facebook community, Spoonies Unite, or you can visit our website, therealspooniesunite.com, for all sorts of resources and to stay up to date with our current projects. And don't worry, you can find all of these links in the show notes below.
Thank you to our wonderful Spoonie patrons for all your support, and you can become one too. That's right. All you have to do is go on over to patreon.com/therealspooniesunite, and you can get all sorts of extra goodies like videos of our episodes and more.
Any support is greatly appreciated. It helps enable us to create more content for all of you, as well as make this podcast sound better and better. Thanks for listening. We can't wait to be back in your ears soon.